welcome to this week's episode of 5 Minute Fridays. I'm Miranda.
And I'm Dan. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And we've got a mystery guest today, but before we get to him, we're going to give you our rundown of our streaming gear here.
Yep. So today we are streaming to YouTube at 1080p, 29.9 frames per second, and 6 megabytes per second. We're using vMix Pro version 21. We have a new Thalium custom PC, i5 7500, 3.4 gigahertz
GTX 1050 Ti with 8 gigabytes of RAM, all
nestled on a beautiful Gigabyte GA-Z270X Ultra Gaming motherboard. We are using the PTZ Optics USB 20X camera via USB 3.0. We've got the Microsoft LifeCam Studio via USB 2.0, the Audio-Technica AT3031, and Behringer UMC 202, goodness, via USB 2.0. vMix Social via Kindle Fire. Send us some comments. We have our vMix mousepad, the standard edition. And of course, our X Keys XK124 with the video switcher key set via USB.
There you go. And it's all was nicely numbered there. You can freeze frame and that if you want.
Yep.
The Thalium custom PC was built by our friends Phil and Liam, hence the Thalium.
Yep.
So
without further ado, let's introduce our mystery guest.
Can anybody guess?
Anyone?
Guess in the chat. Okay.
All right,
here we go.
Da-da-da-da. Tom Sinclair. We have no audio.
How could that happen?
Well, you know.
His audio's
Oh,
on.
oh my
He's
goodness.
messing with us.
Oh, there we go. Now we got
He's
him.
just messing with us.
So, now everybody's like, oh, crap, it's just him. Oh, golly, I'll go watch
just
something
him.
else.
Well, thank
Good
you for
morning.
joining
Thanks
us.
for having me on. My pleasure, indeed.
Tom, you are the reason we do the show. Because a while back when I was talking, maybe it was when you were interviewing me, I don't remember exactly when, but you said, why don't you just do a live streaming show? You got a warehouse full of stuff. You could just run back in the warehouse, grab something, and talk about it. And, 6 months and a bunch of procrastination later, here we are.
And I'm pretty sure it was you and Dan that threw me in the hot seat. Oh, you're going to start doing this.
At the Streaming Idiots meetup, I believe, was her first on-camera experience, right?
Absolutely.
Yep, it was.
And you did
Absolutely.
great. We liked what we saw.
Yep.
So, Mr. Sinclair, we were curious, because you're always interviewing people, so we want to interview you, and we want to know how you got started in all this.
Well, this is live streaming. Well, this is Friday 5, right? So that's 5 hours.
We
So
have a tendency
you
5
have time.
hours.
We do have a tendency to run over at 5 minutes, but we try.
Well, let me give you the quick story. It's really funny. I've got 3 boys, and they play soccer, and I coached them growing up, and just loved the dad coach thing, and just I don't know that I was a great coach, but it was a lot of fun for me. And you're down on the field, and you're close to the action, and you know what's going on. And when they got to high school, they didn't need a dad coach anymore. But I wanted to be down on the field, and I found out if you have a camera hanging around your neck with a big old long lens on it, then you can go just about anywhere and nobody questions you. So all of a sudden there I was back down on the sideline. I could take photos. This was back in film days now, and I'd have the prints made and hand them out to the players the next week, and everybody loved it. Then I got a digital camera, an SLR, and suddenly I could post things online. And so I created a website for the team, and it was just a big hit. And then I added video. I had a little video camera, and I'd take some video, and every now and then I'd get lucky and get a really good clip and post it on there, and it just got a lot of publicity. And then one day, one of my friends called me and said, hey, we're doing this big soccer tournament in Orange Beach, Alabama, which is on the Gulf of Mexico. Beautiful place, just crystal white beaches. And they said, we need somebody to figure out a way to make this go live online so that the folks that can't be there can come watch. This is like 2008, maybe 2007.
Back in the
And I
aughts.
said, sure, I can do that. I can do that, no problem. I didn't have a clue how to do that. But I looked around and found out that I could find a CDN that would stream a postage stamp size picture, maybe like 56 pixels wide or something like that. It was crazy.
Oh, geez.
And so I rigged up a webcam, I duct taped it to a tripod and connected it to a laptop, and got the Wi-Fi there at the local venue, and we streamed for 2 days. And after 2 days and probably, I don't know, 20 different soccer matches, you know how it is when you go off to a weekend tournament like that. It's just match after match after match. I was getting emails right and left from folks saying, this is great. We couldn't always see what was going on because it was, they were just tiny little ants running around on the screen. But everybody felt like they were there. And the first day it was just, the webcam back and forth and back and forth. And the next day we started getting bold and we did graphics. We took a clipboard with a piece of paper on it. We'd write the score on it and hold it in front of the camera so people would know what the score was. And then we decided we're really going to go whole hog. We're going to do commentary. So we got some of the coaches that weren't actively coaching on the field to come up and actually talk and tell what was going on the field. And it was just amazing. I mean, we were like ESPN. It was amazing. And that's 2000, 2007, 2008. The response was overwhelming. I didn't know what this thing was, but I knew it was a thing. And whatever this thing was, I wanted to be a part of it. And so, I searched around, learned everything I can, and the rest is history.
And today
That's
you
awesome.
have
And
Eastern
now I'm
Shore
a confirmed
Broadcasting.
idiot. Yep, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So here's your website,
yeah,
Eastern
there
Shore
it is.
Broadcasting, and now you're selling streaming equipment and you're configuring systems for people, building custom PCs for them, the whole full service deal, right?
Yes, indeed.
And
Yes,
supporting
indeed.
and backing
And
them.
loving it.
That's awesome.
Having a ball. Yeah.
So when did you? I know that you are like the #1 vMix reseller in the U.S. When did you first
In the
discover
US.
vMix?
That's an interesting story too. I had a client that wanted me that had a need, wanted two computer systems built for them for a racetrack up in Michigan. And they wanted one as a main system and then one as an instant replay system, but with the same specs in case one of them went down, they had a backup. And so and it's one of those deals where they said, this is what we want. I said, okay, send me a check. And they sent me a check, and I built them a PC. And then the guy Nick drove down and picked it up and brought it back. And we were using another software product that will be unnamed at that point. And he called me back about a week later and he said, I found this other software that I really like better than the software that you and I agreed on. Can you get that and put it on there? And it was vMix. And I had tried vMix before, but it had kind of what I thought was kind of a funky interface. And so I didn't really do anything with it. But this guy was just really pressing me and saying, Tom, I gotta have this vMix stuff. And I'm like, oh, geez. I want my clients to be happy. I said, okay, well, we'll figure out a way to make this happen. So I contacted vMix and said, want to resell your product. I've got a customer that just won't go away, and I've tried everything to get rid of them, and they won't go away. And vMix said, sure, send us a $1,000 order, and we'll get you started. Well, that was back in the days when they were actually taking resellers. They're not taking resellers anymore. So fortunately, I got kind of in under the gun. And so, this customer forced me to become a vMix reseller. And so I became a reseller before I was even a user. And he and I learned the software together. And it was just, it was really great. And hat tip to Nick for that. I appreciate that.
That's a
awesome.
great
History,
story.
as they say.
Yeah. You're dragged into it kicking and streaming.
Kicking and streaming,
Kicking and
resisting
streaming.
100%. And, nobody likes change. You get used to a particular software, the way it works, the ins and outs of it. It's familiar. It's like an old friend. An old friend. Sometimes old friends have quirks, and you have to kind of learn to live with their quirks. Well, this was the same way. That particular software, the other stuff, was pretty quirky, but I had learned how to live with the quirks, and somebody was forcing me out of my comfort zone, and I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, the
That's
first
awesome.
one that you try is always the one you're familiar with and,
Yeah.
and the one you're most comfortable with. I know what you mean. It's hard to get out of that and try something new.
Yep. You get comfortable.
That's the way I feel about my first wife. Yeah, my first wife was like that. Of course, I still have her, so that's okay.
And my next question is this thing that's called the Streaming Idiots. Where did this come
Streaming
from?
idiots. Streaming idiots. It came to me in the shower one day, and I said, people that are live streaming, they inevitably feel like an idiot at some point in the process. Their stream doesn't work. They forget to turn the mic on. They do stupid stuff. And it's a common experience with people that are just learning a new skill. You don't do it right all the time. And I said, we ought to have a place for all those streaming idiots to go. And then it was like, aha, streaming idiots. We'll do a Facebook group. Or no. I said, we'll do a show for people that are just starting out. I was
Right.
doing another show that had an unnamed title, and I said,
you had to
that's
change.
too restrictive. I got to do this
Yeah.
other one. I want to do a show for people that are just learning, just starting out, where they can feel comfortable. And so we started a show, I guess it was about 4 or 5 years ago now, called Streaming Idiots. And we did it on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Periscope and all those places. And then Jan and Marie Lind from, they're Danes, but they live in Sweden. They started a fan group, on Facebook for the show called Streaming Idiots. That's what you're showing right over here. And that thing he said to me privately, he said, Tom, my hope is that after a year we might have maybe 50 people join. And I said, it's possible. We could only hope. Well, after the first month we had 50 people. After the first year we had 1,000. It's up to about 2,200, 2,300 now. And it's been amazing. It's folks all over the world that meet and gather 24/7 to talk about live streaming. It's what we call a closed group on Facebook, which means you have to ask permission to join, and not just anybody gets in. I mean, if you come in with ill intent to spam us, we know those kinds of things, and we probably turn away half the folks that apply just simply because we can tell that they're not there to add anything; they're just there to take.
Right.
And so it's a great place to
Absolutely.
share. It's a great thing, and as you can see in the picture, we had that super meetup at NAB last April, second one, and you guys are in that picture somewhere.
That's the one
Yeah.
where we threw Miranda
Really
in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, there's Miranda. There's Miranda.
She's in there.
just to my right, to my left, or to the right of me.
Yep.
And it's great. So if anybody's going to NAB next year, remember while you're at NAB, make sure you reserve Tuesday night for the Streaming Idiots meetup. You don't have to be an idiot, but it helps.
It's a lot of fun and a great group of people.
Yeah, that was a fun night.
And I have to say that Facebook group, I'm continually impressed with the way people help each other in that. I mean, I've posted questions and had them answered. I've tried to answer a few questions for people, and it's just a very welcoming and helpful group.
No,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you. It really is intentional. And people that misbehave, they get tossed out of the sandbox. There's no doubt. It's my sandbox, my rules, and we're going to get along. By gosh, we're going to get along.
And tell us about this graphic we just threw up here.
Oh, golly, yeah. That's those crazy guys at World of Live Streaming. They're early adopters of Streaming Idiots, and they have been pestering me for years. And finally, they decided, let's stop pestering, Tom. Let's just start our own show. So, Dave and Jan and Giles and Martin and Tommy and Merle and Kenny, and I'm sure I'm missing one or more of them. Rudy, I always forget Rudy.
Don't forget, we can't forget
They
Rudy.
got together and they have this international show that they run every Monday afternoon Eastern time. I think it's 3 o'clock Eastern on Mondays at World of Live Streaming, and they talk about live streaming, and they experiment with all sorts of other weird stuff. You know, if there's something out there, some cutting edge, they're out there testing it to see. They just did the Streamfest, which was a 17-hour straight live stream that they passed around the world from host to host. So literally, it initiated in England, and I think at one point they cut the England feed and started a California feed, and it was a very smooth handover. Very impressed with those guys. But basically, when anything goes wrong on their show, it's my fault. I forced them to start that show. Yeah, so there's where the graphic comes in.
That's funny.
Well, I see we're running way over. I just got a couple quick questions for you. First one is, how did you find? Yeah, it's your fault.
The graphic's true.
Where did you first learn about X keys? I know you're reselling them now for us, which is really cool. But where was it?
X
The
keys?
NAB?
What? What's X keys? No. X keys. I learned about X keys from Martin and Tim at vMix. Because you guys had sent them an X key about what? I mean, more than one key. You sent them the whole keyboard. About 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah, this guy right here, the
they
T-bar
got it.
unit.
Okay, and they did a plug-in on it, or some way to make it connect to the MIDI reader in vMix. And I saw it, and I said, that is amazing. That's exactly what I've been looking for. I've been looking for a keyboard that I can sell that can be dedicated to particular functions, and that was perfect. And it's the easiest thing in the world to use. It's got a USB cable on it, and you plug it in, and it works. It's just, oh man, I am in love with X keys, and I just happen to have my little X key here. Now, this is pretty underwhelming, because this is what real people do with X keys. Real people don't have the fancy buttons and all that stuff. They've got handwritten notes, and they're all the time changing their keys, and they've got big keys and they've got little keys. And this big key right here, this is my cough button. It turns my mic off and on, and it's easy for me to find. And this one controls my PTZ camera, and this controls all my guests. And I've got some spare room up here, and I'm even missing a key. This is how real people do their X keys. They don't make them look all nice and fancy and clean with all the different buttons around. That is not the real world, folks. That is not the real world. So that's where X keys came from, and I'm delighted to be an X keys reseller. I'm delighted to influence the market in the direction of X keys, because I think you guys are doing an amazing job. And Dan, can I talk about the NDI X key?
I tell you what, since we're running so long, we're going to wrap
time.
it.
Okay.
We're going to wrap it,
Okay.
and
Another
please stick
day.
around for the post show.
Yep.
Can you do that, Tom?
Post-show.
Do you have time?
Oh, I've never heard of a post show. What a great idea! Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
We'll be back with you momentarily.
Yup. All right.
Well, I hope you guys were all impressed with our mystery guest. It was really great to hear from him, because he interviews a ton of people, but we really don't get to hear that much about, and I loved his stories.
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved his stories. All right, well, hopefully you guys stick around for the post show and ask some more questions. See you in a minute.
Next week.
Or next week. And we're back.
And our mic's on even.
Yep. All right.
And before we get too much further into this post show,
Oh, geez.
there's something I want to throw up here.
Oh, thanks.
I grabbed a freeze frame out of that show because I thought you were particularly cute in that picture. You got that little smirk on your face, like.
Thanks.
And when's your birthday?
tomorrow.
Okay, come on back to this. Yeah. Yeah.
No, birthday's
Happy
tomorrow.
birthday.
Thank you.
Congratulations. What's it like to be 30?
I'm not 30 yet. Come on. Almost, but not yet.
That's all right. 29 is the worst year. 30 is a breeze, but 29
I'm
is
going to make it
terrible.
my best year yet.
All right.
I'm sure.
All right. Gee whiz.
All right.
Well, what a cool show. I love the 5-minute concept. I mean, it really forces you to be succinct. I mean, you got to get straight to the point. None of this beating around the bush. You got to get
Someday
in. You
we'll
gotta get
actually
out.
make
I
it
really,
in under
really
5
like
minutes.
One of these days.
No, but I mean, who cares about that? But the idea is that you're forcing content into a little box, so it's got to be sharp. It's got to be clear, and it can't be a lot of fluff. I commend you for that. Really great concept.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have some interesting comments in here, questions.
All right.
Hey, before I forget, Tom, thanks a ton for coming
Yes.
on the show and talking to us. And, you know, vMix and you are really the reason that we're doing this. I mean, we wouldn't be in the streaming market if it wasn't for vMix. And I wouldn't have made all these friends like the WOLS crazies and the idiot, the streaming idiot guys. I've made a lot of friends thanks to you and Tim and Martin.
Yep. Good group of
Well,
guys.
I hope it's a segment of your market that is growing and doing well, because I want to see
Definitely.
you guys continue to stay in the market and innovate. And if you could do like a 25-speed switch, I mean,
Joystick.
joystick, yeah, that's what I want.
Have
At
you
least
had a
10
chance
speeds.
to test the new?
No,
Okay,
no, I just downloaded it yesterday.
it's
just
got
downloaded
some
it
nice new
yesterday, so
features
I've
in it. I
gotta-
think you'll like. What we're gabbing about, if you guys don't know, is we have an NDI PTZ software that works with our joystick or really any X keys. And Tom is one of our beta testers. And if anybody out there wants to be a beta tester, all they need to do is email us tech@xkeys.com,
Yep.
and we'll send you the software.
It's really cool. I don't know who is behind that, but you guys have done an awesome job with that app. I mean, basically, you can take either the XK12 joystick, right, or the XK68 joystick,
Yep.
and the joystick controls the PTZ camera, and the buttons, whether the 12 or the 68, can do all sorts of things. They can switch from camera to camera. They can switch from slow to high speed, or whatever speed you program on the joystick controller. You can push the control. Was there a button to push it forward, and it'll tilt?
Turn the
and then there's-
tilt into the zoom. Yeah. Well, this
Yeah,
new
yeah,
new version I just sent you has,
And you can even change it the other way around.
right.
Yeah.
And the new version I sent you has a speed toggle on it, so you could set up 10 keys to do 10 different speeds on the stick, and if you want to.
Ah.
And you just hit the key and it stays at that speed until you hit another key. So
I love it.
That's cool.
I
love
think
it.
that's
Gotta try
a cool new feature. We got
And that's
questions?
only through NDI,
Questions, yeah.
Yes,
right?
it's only
so it's only a
an
camera that's NDI compatible.
NDI PTZ. Yep, exactly.
Right.
Works great with the PTZ Optics NDI camera. We've also been testing it with the new tech.
Good.
And we're going to be showing it.
Good.
You know what
Awesome.
we failed to do? Well, this is my terrible. How did I? Yeah, we're going to be at IBC next week,
Oh, yeah.
starting Friday, in Amsterdam, and I forgot to plug that. So if anybody's still watching, Rudy's going to come join us. We are right across the aisle from the PTZ Optics booth. But we're kind of it's our first year, so when you just start out in one of these shows, they put you way in the back. And so we're like in the back end of nowhere. So
come find us.
yeah, please.
So who's going? You guys, the two of you guys are going?
We're leaving Miranda at home because somebody has to take care of things. I'm going, Maggie's going, and then our UK reseller, his name's Ardeep, great guy. He's kind of set this up for us. We're partnering with him to make this happen because he sells our stuff
Awesome.
In the UK and in Europe. So.
Yep. All right.
Awesome. All right.
Looks like we got a question.
Got a question? An actual
An
question?
actual question. Can I program my X keys to work with something else besides my PC, like Mac? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. We have Controller Mate is a software that you would want to use for Mac, and it's all on our website there. If you just go to xkeys.com, and then there's a nice software button, and you can get there.
Yeah, or you can program the X keys on a PC in what we call hardware mode, where it's just sending keystrokes, and then plug it into your Mac, and it's going to act like a USB keyboard and do what you want to do.
Right. Let's see, what's
Okay.
Tommy say? X keys NDI sounds like something very user friendly.
I think so. What do you think, Tom?
Well,
Does
if
it
I
fit?
can figure it out, it's got to be easy. I mean, that's the whole deal. I'm the lowest common denominator right there in virtually anything that I attempt. And so, yeah.
I had another question here that I didn't get to for you, Tom, which is
Uh-oh.
what are some of your favorite live streaming shows? I'm not going to ask you to name a favorite because I wouldn't want anybody to feel bad. But just
Oh, no,
give us a
I'm happy
couple-
to tell you my favorites.
give us a couple of your favorites.
Well, my favorite, of course, is Streaming Idiots because that's the show I'm the star of.
Fair enough. Second is us, obviously.
Yeah, that's right. You guys are a close second.
Right.
Close
Right.
second.
Right.
Of course, I love the world of live streaming guys. You never know what you're going to see when you go there. You're good, and you have to be kind of patient because most of them are older, and it takes them a while to get to the point. And sometimes they forget what their point is, and they have to talk about the weather or something else.
And I love how
until
they
they
put
remember.
that Zoom window up, and it looks just like the opening to the Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
All those-
that's right. That's right.
That's great.
They are like the Brady Bunch. Yes, they are. I also enjoy the different shows from PTZ Optics, from Paul and Tess. I think they do a good job, and just like anybody else, there are times when things don't work exactly right, and that's the real world, and that brings I think a level of authenticity to the show is when things don't really work perfectly, and you just go with it, and that becomes part of the nature of the show. I also like the Ben Shapiro show, believe it or not. He's a
I'm not
political
familiar with that
commentator, and yep, is a neat guy. He's an Orthodox Jew. He lives out in California, of all places, in the Hollywood area, and he's a political pundit, and just really sharp as tacks. He's kind of a mid-30s kind of guy, and has a really well-polished show. I mean, there are no foibles on that show, and obviously that's what he does, as a living, is to put his opinion out on the air. I think he does an hour show every day.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. It's like you would see, probably one of the opinion shows you would see on CNN or MSNBC or Fox. In fact, he guests on all of those a lot. So I enjoy that. And what else? And I like watching glacier videos on YouTube. When the glaciers calve and slide off into the water. Oh yeah. That's really exciting stuff. So I'm well-rounded. Yep. Well-rounded. And you never know. There are always new shows popping up. People are coming up with different concepts of the same kinds of things. I love, who was it? Our local high school, Fairhope High School, does live streams their game, and they were playing another team last night. They had a Thursday night game, and the other team was having their game live streamed. And so the same game was being live streamed by two different live streaming outfits, and it was really interesting to watch the differences between the two. Some ways one of them was better than the other, and then other ways that the second was better than the first. And so it was really cool. But what I'm realizing is that there are a lot of folks that have passion for bringing a live stream to fruition, but they don't always have talent, and and most of the time they don't have experience or the knowledge that more experienced folks do. And so, I've been thinking in my head, how can we help people like that? For example, people that might want to start a Friday morning talk show, for example. What kind of challenges could they face in putting say a 5-minute broadcast together? And how can I help them and other people like them put that together? So I've come up with this concept, and we just started it like yesterday. We've got a new Facebook page called Live Streaming Rookies, and it's intended for people that are just starting out in live streaming. So we're going to build into that. We're going to build in some classes, some sample setups that we've tested and we know work, and ways to help people get jump started into the live streaming world. They've got the passion. Quick story. Had a friend. He started out being a client, turned out being a friend. You know how that goes. And he had a passion for handcrafting shoes. I'm not talking about flip-flops made out of old tires. I'm talking about real shoes that are hand-sewn and works of art kind of stuff. And if he'd gone up and down his block in where he lived in New York, he wouldn't have found anybody on his block that was interested in what he was doing. They might buy his shoe, but they're not interested in learning how to do it. But he puts that thing on the internet, and he gets tens of thousands of views of people all over the world that are interested in what he's doing. And so he was able to take his passion, not just for building shoes, for crafting shoes, but for sharing that information. He was able to take that to the whole world through the internet, through live streaming. Really, really cool.
That's
really
cool.
That is some of the best of what this does, is it allows us to reach out and get a message to people that we wouldn't ordinarily reach.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's their choice. They don't have to listen to us. They can turn us off. Which they're probably doing right now.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that freedom of choice is what's so cool about it. But what you guys are doing, you guys are saying very subtly, in fact, probably too subtly, I think, we have really cool stuff, and we're using it to do the kinds of things that you can use it to do. I think you need to promote your Switch. I mean, I can see it there. I can see it there on the desk.
There it is.
Kinda.
We need to have it up.
It needs to be a little more prominently displayed. You can take your window and you can move it a little bigger, left and right, a little taller. There's all that space down at the bottom that you're not really using. What you've got is sort of a standard vMix side-by-side setup. But the more you're into it, the more you say, we've got too much screen real estate we're not taking advantage of. So if somebody's watching on a phone, they're not going to be able to see that teeny little X keys down there at the bottom. We're going to have to make the picture bigger. Anyway, sorry, I got off on a tangent there. But don't be afraid to show off your products.
It's true. All right.
You got the Pi comment.
Can the XK's joystick be used for computer games? Yes.
Yes, it's a
Absolutely.
USB joystick.
All right.
And
what's Tommy say?
Tommy.
Dan, I will never forget what Tom Sinclair did for me when lightning hit both of my computers. A truly selfless person.
There you go.
I only did it because I was trying to suck up to him. So.
And I can't tell you how many questions I shot over to Tom as we were putting this studio together, and how helpful he was. Tom in the Streaming Idiots group, and Rudy and the Walls guys. I leaned on all those resources to pull this thing together.
Yep.
So.
Isn't it nice to have that community of folks that, people that you're friends with, and that, they're not trying to sell you anything, or, you might buy something from them, but it's really because you trust them and you can count on them, and you know that they got your back.
Absolutely.
And sometimes in this world, that's not always the case. unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we've kept you long enough, sir, and we do appreciate your time.
Yes.
And
Very much so.
all you guys out there watching, we appreciate you as well. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if
Yep.
you haven't already. And
We'll see you
I'll
guys.
see. We're trying to
Well,
get
wait,
something.
wait,
Go ahead. What?
wait, stop. Do you have a Facebook group or Facebook page
We have
or something?
we
Yep.
have a Facebook page and a user group.
Yep.
Oh, you have a user
XK's
group
user group.
on Facebook?
We do.
So if I go to Facebook and I search X-Keys user group, I will find that user group.
That would be an
Yep.
excellent idea.
Yep.
Yeah. And we do force you
And,
that.
and I
just like Streaming Idiots, you have
I can
to
join?
You can join, and if you answer the questions, 3.
Got to answer them correctly.
3 questions. 3 questions. Okay, good. Yeah, there needs to be a threshold for entry. You can't just let any old riffraff like me get in there. You got it. Yeah, you got it.
Although I think you're already in.
Got it.
But
Cool.
Darn it.
Obviously, before you raise the standards. Yeah.
if all goes well, I may see you from Amsterdam next Friday. We're
hoping.
Ooh.
working on, hoping we can work something out.
Yep.
That we'll be able to call in for the show. But
If
you'll definitely
not, you'll
see
still
me.
see my pretty face.
Okay. And happy birthday again.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks again, Tom. Thank you,
All right.
everybody, for watching.
Yep, thank you. See everybody
next
next
time.
week.
Bye, guys.